Good morning, YouTubers. Matt Hun here with MDH Technologies. I'm glad you're here. I greatly appreciate your time. Today I'm going to talk about business voice over IP service and hardware. Primarily, what to look for in a voice over IP service provider and how to assess your network readiness. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm not going to cover on-premise voice over IP systems today. That would be a different discussion. Okay, so this is strictly for a service-based voice over IP system. Okay, so there are essentially 5 points that I wanted to discuss when we're thinking about what to look for in a voice over IP provider. The first is price. Okay, price is an important factor because it can help you eliminate several options right off the bat. Okay, now I'm not putting these necessarily in any particular order. I'm not saying you should be mostly concerned about price or anything. I'm just saying it's going to help you eliminate a lot of the overpriced options right off the bat. Okay, so knowing that price is an important factor, you should expect to pay between $20 and $35 per line or per user, depending upon how the pricing model is set up at that provider. And that does not necessarily include other options that you may be considering. For example, fax to email or something. Now, some providers may actually include that and others may charge for it, but that's something to take into account. The second point I wanted to bring up is voice over IP service their primary business? In other words, do they primarily do something else, right? And a common example of this is internet providers that are trying to bundle voice over IP service with your internet service. Okay, now we've experienced this quite a bit in the past with a lot of our customers. Now, sometimes it works just fine, and other times it's been a giant headache, but just know that the internet companies typically do a good job at delivering internet service, but may not do a very good job at delivering voice over IP service. And that's just because that they may not necessarily be tooled for that type of thing. They may not have the experience for it, and they just certainly don't focus on it. So typically what we recommend to customers is that they allow the internet companies to do what they do best, provide them internet, and then they find a voice over IP company that's going to deliver them a high quality voice over IP service. Okay, now that's just one example. There are IT companies and lots of other mom and pop type shops that try to deliver voice over IP, and I can promise you, you're probably going to have a lot of headaches dealing with that kind of situation, and you probably just want to go ahead and stay away from that. So the third thing is, does voice over IP provider support digital business grade hardware, including sidecars, or do they simply provide you adapters and expect you to use traditional phones like old analog phones? So there are some voice over IP providers that tout this as something that's good about their service, right? Well, with our service, they say you can use regular phones. Well, let me tell you why that's bad. Okay, when you get a voice over IP service, you usually get a full-featured phone system with auto attendance and forwardings and all conference calling and all kinds of features that your users are going to want to take advantage of. Now, how do you do that on an analog phone? Well, here's the answer. You got to sit and dial codes. There's no programmable buttons per se, right? And additionally, if hardware breaks and you have to go out and buy a new phone, well, that phone may not be available anymore, and so you may end up with different phones on people's desks and all kinds of stuff. So if the system's not easy to use, if you require users to keep a cheat sheet of codes they have to dial in and getting different hardware and things and simply using adapters, that's probably a situation that you want to avoid, and that's a good indication that the provider is really more of a residential grade service, not a business voice service. So definitely stay away from those companies. Now, the fifth thing that we want to discuss is, or excuse me, I guess we're on the fourth thing. Does the voice over IP service come with fully featured phone system? Meaning, does it come with auto attendant? Do you get dial by name directory and conferencing and forwarding options? If you don't, that's another indication that it's not really a business grade product, that it's more of a residential grade product, and you probably want to stay away from that, because as a business owner, you are going to want to automate as much as you can. That does not necessarily mean setting up complicated phone trees and things like this, but certainly routing customers to the appropriate department without too much intervention is a good thing. Specifically after hours, holidays, and that sort of thing, when you may not have somebody on staff sitting in front of a telephone. So that's super important. And finally, number 5, does the provider offer a soft phone, that is a software-based phone, an app? And do they provide integration with common applications like Microsoft Outlook, Salesforce, and other CRM products? If they don't, that's probably an indication you're dealing with a very small voice over IP company or a mom and pop type shop that's trying to deliver business grade voice services. And you probably want to stay away from those situations. Additionally, if the apps and the soft phones and things that they're offering are generic open source applications, that could be cause for concern, because later down the road when you need support with those, they may not be able to provide it. So it's best to use a company that has their own app, their own soft phone, and that provides support for the integrations of the things that you're looking for. So that's also something to consider, and that's number 5 on the list of 5 requirements and what to look for in a voice over IP provider. Now, if they can meet all of those requirements, that is a good indication that they're going to be able to provide you a high quality voice over IP service for your business. Okay, now moving on, there are, however, some concerns you need to consider before assuming that voice over IP will work well in your environment. Okay, and there are 5 of those. First of all, bandwidth requirements. This is probably the most important. It's an important factor. It's highly dependent on the codec that the provider uses. You don't have to necessarily understand that, but just know that when it comes to finding out how much bandwidth that you need for your environment to support voice over IP, that you need to talk to the voice over IP company specifically, because they may not be all the same. Different codecs are more efficient than others, and so with some companies you'll need to allocate a little bit more bandwidth than other companies. And then once you figure out what that number is, then you'll need to add a little bit for margin. You never want to allocate just the exact amount of bandwidth. You'll want to add a little bit for margin there. And the second feature we're going to talk about is your network firewall. So not only does it protect you, but for voice over IP, your firewall is going to do a whole lot to ensure that you have high quality voice and have good conversations in terms of the quality there. So it's important to have a good firewall that will allow your IT professional to configure things like QoS and packet shaping so that you can prioritize your voice traffic. If you don't do that, you may sound a little choppy and voice conversations may be very poor. So the third point here is that in larger environments, if you've got a lot of people, a lot of phones, a lot of stuff going on with voice, you may need to separate your voice over IP network from your data network using dedicated cable drops and VLANs. Okay, so you may need layer 3 switching. And so that's all I'm going to touch on that. Larger environments may require a little bit more engineering up front and so on. So just keep that in mind. Now, The fourth thing may seem a little bit small, but in reality, it's really not. You just need to ask yourself how you're going to provide power to the phones. Many phones come with power adapters. They don't always, so just know that. Sometimes it's an add-on that you have to buy in addition. It just sort of depends on the company and the phone that you get. But most of the business-grade hardware comes with the option to use what's called PoE, or Power over Ethernet. That just means that the same cable that delivers the connectivity for voice can also deliver the power necessary to power the phone. Now, in order to do that, you have to have a PoE switch, or Power over Ethernet switch. That is this. Many Power over Ethernet switches are also layer 3 switches, and that can solve 2 problems in one in terms of QoS and packet shaping and that sort of thing, if you want to do it at that level. So just know that that's a concern, because sometimes their outlets and power strips are overused at the desk, but oftentimes in the IT closet in the server room, there's lots of power there, and you can distribute that by using a Power over Ethernet switch, and that's sometimes a little bit more efficient way to do it if you don't want a lot of cables and mess at the desk, or simply don't have the ability to have more electricity there at your workstations. Now, once you have decided on a voice over IP provider and know that your network can support the voice over IP, then you need to plan the implementation. I'm not going to cover that during this video, but that process should be discussed with your IT professional. So I genuinely hope that you have found this video useful, and that you would like the video, that you will subscribe to our channel, and you will share with others. Once again, my name is Matt Hun with MDH Technologies. We manage your technology so you can manage your business. Matt Hun with MDH Technologies. I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for stopping by. I hope to see you again. Please check out some of our other videos, subscribe and like. Thank you again.